Another thing that happened in Criterion Land is that a flash sale happened last week. And when that happens, I, of course, make purchases, and I add to my already growing collection of Blu-rays and 4Ks. And I thought, as always, when people talk about the Criterion Collection online and on Facebook and on YouTube, they talk about their hauls. So I thought, why not I do the same thing? So let's go. And I'll tell you what I got and who the director is and little things about the movies and discuss why I chose them. So here we go. The first movie I got, of course, is Arsenic and Old Lace. The reason why I got it is because I like Cary Grant and I like Frank Capra. And I've heard good things. And they were founded. So I decided... And honestly, I might have passed on this until someone recommended it to me for the podcast. So, because the other movie I was going to watch was Haxan, but someone recommended this, and it was a good idea. So that's the only reason why I got it, and I'm glad I did. So that was a fun movie. I liked it. The Worst Person in the World, directed by Jacques Trier. This made a lot of buzz last year. A lot of people thought this might have been nominated for Best Picture and Best Actress in the Oscars this past year. It didn't happen for whatever reason. The actress did win Best Actress at Cannes that year. So this is a very celebrated film, and I wanted to watch this. I was very interested in seeing this movie. And since it's in Criterion, that's the reason to purchase it, I guess. Walker, directed by Alex Cox, was the next one. I'm an Ed Harris fan, so that was one reason. The other reason is that I've seen some of Alex Cox's films, and he is pretty damn good. The one that really got me started with him was Repo Man. And if you haven't seen Repo Man, I highly recommend it, especially if you like science fiction and you like comedies. In that film, he does the punk motif really well. I think better than I think I've ever seen a film do. It specifically felt punk to me, being somebody who was never into punk in the first place. But I definitely felt it in that movie. So I would definitely recommend that if you haven't seen Repo Man, check that out. But that's why I got Walker, because I've heard good things about this movie, and I'm a fan of Ed Harris. So that was the reason I got that movie. Tampopo is the next one, directed by Yuzo Atami. I gotta tell you, every time when Criterion is discussed on Twitter or on Facebook, everyone raves about this movie. Everyone. They have nothing but great things to say, and that's literally the only reason why I picked it up, because I keep hearing great things about this movie. So I picked that up as well. The Kennedy Films of Robert Drew and Associates. A little background about myself. When I was younger, I was really into the U.S. presidents. For some weird reason, I used to collect cards on the backs of Little Debbie boxes that were basically trading cards of U.S. presidents. And I collected them for a period of time, and I kept them for years until I don't know what happened to them. I think they got thrown out. I forgot how. And I knew, and I started learning about them and learning like different weird things about them. And I've always been fascinated with John F. Kennedy. I think anybody who has a slight interest in U.S. presidents has, because of just not only just the circumstances of his death, but of how he got into power and what he did in the presidency. Like he's a fascinating person. So I saw that, and I saw that Albert Massales did this as well. I was like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. I will probably check those out in my own leisure at some point. All That Jazz, directed by Bob Fosse, starring Roy Scheider. I'm into musicals. I'm into dance movies to a certain extent, And all that jazz is just something that everyone says is a great movie if you're into those things. And I like Bob Fosse, so that works. I had no problem making that purchase. Medium Cool, starring Robert Forster, a young Robert Forster, directed by Haskell Wexler. This is weird. This is a weird movie. I didn't know much about it, but I've heard that they do something pretty fascinating. Apparently, there are scenes in the film that were filmed during a riot or a demonstration with real people. Like, they married the fiction with reality to a certain extent in this movie, and it's what makes it pretty unique. So just for that reason, I thought, why not give it a shot? And I like Robert Forster. Robert Forster is one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Jackie Brown. To see a young Robert Forster, okay, I'll give that a shot. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Okay, I like John le Carre stories. I will say I've never read any of them. I've seen the movies. I especially love Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And when this started getting recommended, and it being a John le Carre film, or is it Le Carre? I'm sorry, Le Carre. When I saw this was being on Criterion, I wanted to pick this up and watch it. I thought this would be a nice. This might be something interesting I'd be into. Sound of Metal, I've been interested in watching. It's on Amazon. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard great things, so I thought I'd pick that up. Lost Highway, I am a big Lynch fan. I have seen a few of his films. I've seen, of course, Mulholland Drive. I've seen parts of Twin Peaks. I've seen Blue Velvet, which is great. And I've always been fascinated, and I've seen some of his shorts too. I've always been fascinated by David Lynch. And Lost Highway was one I haven't been able to pick up. And since it's available, and it was available in 4K, I picked it up right away. The 400 Blows, directed by Francois Truffaut. I saw this 5 years ago and adored the movie. I thought it was so good. And it was my introduction to Truffaut. And I held off on buying this in the hopes that the Antoine Doinel series of films would come back to Criterion as a box set in Blu-ray or on 4K, but it doesn't look like they're doing that. I just lost my nerve and just said, you know what, I want it, so I'll buy it anyway. And watch in a couple months they announced that box set. So, yeah, that's why I got 400 Blows. Fantastic movie if you haven't watched it. Definitely recommend it. But, yeah, that's why I got that. And finally, Devil in a Blue Dress. I saw this a while back, like when it first came out on VHS. God, in 96, 97? And I liked it. This is directed by Carl Franklin. I liked the movie. Do I remember a lot about it? Not really, to be pretty frank. But I've always wanted to revisit it. So when it became a Criterion Collection edition, this is from 95. When this became an addition to the Criterion Collection, I was really interested in picking it up, and that's pretty much why. I wanted to rewatch it, and I haven't seen it in a long time. I want to give it another shot to see what a fresher pair of eyes would show with this movie. So yeah, that's why I got those, and that's my haul. That is my Criterion Flash Sale haul for October. Usually it's in November, but yeah. I think there's going to be another Criterion sale on either November or December on Barnes & Noble. They haven't announced it yet, but I think that's coming soon. So you might get another haul in another month or so. It might be a smaller haul. I went a little overboard this time. But yeah, that was my haul for the Criterion sale for this month.